Well, the Mets have just signed Devin Williams to a 3-year, $50 or so million contract. And my first reaction when I saw this passin' tweet, this passin' bomb that came out at 9:30 on a Monday night that I was not expecting, was Edwin Diaz is gone. And I wasn't very happy when I saw this tweet initially because, to me, like many others, we assumed that this meant that Edwin Diaz was going elsewhere. Now, I've talked about before, maybe a couple weeks ago when the Mets were rumored to have interest in Devin Williams. I personally said that I thought that Devin Williams was the number one target for a replacement if you're unable to sign Edwin Diaz. But to me, looking at this deal originally, I thought, why are they signing Devin Williams if Edwin Diaz hasn't signed elsewhere as of yet? But we're starting to hear from multiple sources now, not just one or two, Passan himself. We've heard it from Andy Martino, Anthony DiComo, Mike Puma, John Heyman, that this is not taking the Mets out of the Edwin Diaz sweepstakes. They're still very interested in bringing Edwin Diaz back, but this is being used as a backup plan, basically, in case someone gives Edwin Diaz the Godfather offer that he's looking for. Doesn't look like the Mets want to go 5 years, $100 million for Edwin Diaz, and at this point, probably no one has, or he would have signed there. It looks like the Mets are looking to see if he'll come back to them at their price. Now, I don't love this deal if it's Edwin Diaz as the replacement, but if you're talking about Devin Williams as a setup man for Edwin Diaz, this is obviously a great move. We tend to forget how good Devin Williams really is, or has been for a long time now. You know, he had a bad year on the Yankees last year. There's a sour taste on him, maybe because of Pete taking him deep in the playoffs a couple of years ago. Maybe it seems like he's not a big-time back end of the bullpen kind of guy or one of the best closers in baseball. But that's what he's been throughout his entire career. And last year, the numbers were not great. 4.79 ERA, 18 saves, 1.17 whip. But he definitely recovered in the second half and really became more of a reliable late inning reliever. He never really got his closer job back. That went to David Bednar, but he was a little bit more reliable down the stretch for the Yankees last year. And this is a guy that in his career is a 2.45 ERA and a 1.04 whip and 86 saves. It's not like he's not been able to do the job before. He set up for Josh Hader for a little bit and then jumped right into the closer role once Hader left and has been one of the top guys in baseball since then. He has one of the best pitches in baseball with that changeup of his. I forget what they call it, but he has the best changeup in baseball. Fastball changeup pitcher. And if you look at his advanced numbers last year, his expected ERA was 3.09. He had a 4.79 ERA, but his expected ERA was 3.09. His chase rate, 35%, that was 95th percentile. Whiff rate, 37.7, that was 99th percentile. Hard hit rate, 35.7, that was 85th percentile. He struggled with walks like he has throughout his whole career, 9.7, that was 29th percentile. So walks are an issue with him, like they are with a lot of relievers. A lot of closing pitchers struggle with walks because they have to be so fine with their pitches, especially when you're a two-pitch pitcher. You have to be a little bit more fine. You're looking for swing and miss, and sometimes he's not able to get that. And the news that came out, obviously, we were all a little bit shocked at first, but it looks like Williams is willing to accept a setup role for Diaz. If that's the case, then you're talking about a super bullpen. I made a video a week or two ago about the Mets possibly creating a super bullpen, and we heard that. I forget who, I think Will Salmon put out an article a couple weeks ago basically saying, I'm sorry, it was Jeff Passan. In an article a couple of weeks ago, he talked about how the Mets have mulled signing Devin Williams and Edwin Diaz and pairing them in the back end of their bullpen. And honestly, if that's the case, which is doable, by the way. If you're giving Edwin $20 million a year, this looks like it might be around $15 million AAV, depending on the deferred money and all that. Maybe it's a little bit less, maybe it's $1 million or $2 million more. But if you're paying him $15 million a year and you give Edwin Diaz maybe $20 million a year, that's $35 million for the bullpen, and that's what I laid out in my vision for building the bullpen. Now, I laid it out as bringing back Edwin Diaz at $20 million, and then maybe signing another guy for $11 or $12 million, and then another guy or two in the middle relief role for $5 or $6, whatever it works out to be. But if you're able to get two top-of-the-line guys at the back end of your bullpen, mixing them in with Raley, Minter, Brazaban possibly. There's some guys there that you can work with. You maybe have some guys in the minors that you want to bring up, or maybe one of those starters if you're going out to get a starting pitcher. Maybe you're planning on moving one of your starters, maybe even Clay Holmes, though he was reliable starter last year. Maybe moving Clay Holmes or someone else into the bullpen to just be an extra arm out there. If that's the case, then I love this deal. If it's along with Edwin Diaz, this is great. If Edwin Diaz is not part of this bullpen, then I don't love Devin Williams as a replacement, but I wouldn't love anyone as the replacement. I just don't think there's a better closer in baseball or a guy that you'd rather have than Edwin Diaz. You're always going to take a step back. So if Devin Williams is the closer, they still have work to do in the bullpen. They still have to go out and get some other guys. But if Diaz is there, then you have a great 8th, 9th battery here. Also, then you add Raley in the 7th as your left-hander. The bullpen starts to take shape and really can become dominant, especially at the back end. We'll have to see what happens. Obviously, this is kind of insurance for if Diaz leaves. It's also not only that, but if you compare these guys together, you're talking about craziness. I'm rambling here. I'm not going to go too much further here. Obviously, breaking news. This is just my initial reaction. We'll go more into this as time goes on. Hopefully we hear something about Diaz soon. But that's really all I got. So until next time, let's go Mets.